No cold open, no teaser, no hype. Just beat the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, please. This is Blue Rush. What's up, Big Blue? Sorry if I was a little short and straight to the point in the teaser introduction, but we're on a short week, and after that Saints loss, I felt like there's no need for the hype. Let's get straight to the point with the Eagles coming to MetLife Stadium for some Thursday Night Football, but you know what? I digress. I'm going to take a step back. I will tease some of the stuff we have coming up in the episode. I go into the locker room and I talk to Theo Johnson about back-to-back weeks with a touchdown, and NFL insider and analyst Cal Brandt joins the show later to talk about all the Jaxson Dart hype and the season finale of his show, NFL Classics, after further review on Vice. I'm Brandon London. Let's bring in longtime Giants beat writer for the Post, Paul Schwartz. Paul, it's getting, what do they call it? It's getting late early, but after a loss like that to the Saints, I think the best thing you can have as a team, as a player, is a short week to flush it, get back to the action. But then again, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, the Eagles are coming into town. What's going on, my friend?
Brandon, you sound like you're not a player anymore. I don't know many players in that locker room with those aches and pains of saying, all right, a short week, right? They were talking about, Dexter Lawrence was talking about, you have a 6-day recovery period, right? From one game to the next,
Yep.
6 games in between. They said you got to shorten that now to 3 games, 3 days. And it's not easy to do. So, look, I'm feeling it now. The short week of podcasts from one to the other. So, you may have to go easy on me. I got some aches and pains, maybe a little throat congestion here. So let's see how far we get with this.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this Sunday Thursday podcast schedule.
Well, I hope you didn't catch anything from Dexter Lawrence, who's been a little bit under the weather. And I was in the locker room with him yesterday, just staring face to face and him talking. And I told the camera guy, I'm like, man, he was sweating a lot. Or I think I told Serby, it was like, man, he was sweating a lot. And Serby was like, yeah, he's coming off of an illness, and I was like, I got to go home to my kids, so I hope I'm all right. But when you talk about these short weeks as a player, from the player standpoint of it, it's like you like it, but you like it, but don't love it, because it's extended meetings, it's extended jog through, walk throughs. It's just a weird schedule, and players love just being creatures of habit. So, but at the same time, especially after a loss like the Saints, you want to flush that thing and get back to game mode as fast as possible and not reflect. So, since we were talking about Dexter Lawrence, he and that big three of the edge rushers, they have, I guess, Paul, they've got their hands tied this week, going up against Eagles offense, who hasn't been great, but at the end of the day still has weapons. Jalen Hurts been holding on to the football a little bit too much. Giants coming off of 0 sacks against the Saints. Do you think this could be a game where the pass rush kind of takes over and gives this team hope?
Well, the one thing is, you mentioned about Dexter Lawrence sweating in the locker room. He does sweat a lot. He's a big man. And he went over, I think it might have been Jermaine Illuminor. He went a few lockers down and took a clean towel out of one of his teammates'
Okay.
lockers. And then he comes over and he starts wiping his bald head, which is all sweating. So I said, borrowing another man's towel. And Dexter Lawrence looked, you said you can look eye to eye with Dex. I'm looking, eye to chest with him. He's looking down at me. I said, "You borrowing another man's towel?" He said, "No, stealing."
Oh, nice.
No, stealing. And I said, "Good. You don't want to borrow another man's." He said, "You don't want to wipe your face with it and then put it back in his lap."
Yeah.
I said, "No, I'm stealing it." So, okay. I mean, obviously they're all the Giants towels anyway, so they'll all get washed in a big bin somewhere. Look, Dexter Lawrence said it. He said, you definitely see that when asked about Jalen Hurts holding the ball. He is, we talk about guys getting it out of their hand quick. He's in the bottom 5, I think, among quarterbacks as far as holding the ball. He holds it the longest. And Dex said that makes you have to be even more disciplined in your rush lanes, and because he's looking for a place to escape, or he's looking for a shot down the field, and that is Jalen Hurts, right? You got him, and then he runs away from you for a gain, or he throws a shot down the field. But he's been sacked 15 times in 5 games. And he's a big, strong man, so he does hold the ball. Oh, look, the Philly offense is not. It's not. They're 4-1. It is not operating on all cylinders. Listen to these stats, Brandon. They are 30th in the league in yards per game. Okay,
Wow.
261, 30th. They are 31st in passing yards per game, 161. They are 25th in rushing offense per game, 98, 99.8 yards per game, not even 100 with Saquon Barkley. We'll get to him later. 25th in rushing, and they're 12th in points per game with 25. So this is a team that's 4-1, and they score points, but this is not an incredibly efficient, well-run machine right now. Now, the fear is, as Dexter Lawrence says, you don't want them breaking out against you.
Yeah, and that I feel as though a sack against Jalen Hurts in this offense, like it'll have MetLife Stadium explode. Like you're gonna need that one because you forced them to run the ball, and I know Saquon hasn't been great with what the numbers and statistics are saying. But two, if you force him to throw the football with the weapons that they have on the outside, and you can get that sack to get the defense off the field, get the offense out there, then again, I think it's a game of momentum. You're going to have to jump on the Eagles early, and you're going to have to ride that momentum. And how do you do that? By playing solid run defense and getting after Jalen Hurts and those guys on the defensive side of the football. But I still have that question mark on if he does get rid of the football, Paul, and he throws the ball down the field, is it going to be an incompletion, a catch, or a DPI, defensive pass interference? Because every time someone throws a football down the field, you're holding your breath. And when you see a Giants defender, a DB, make a play, you're still holding your breath and you're looking around on the TV screen, or if we're at the game, you're looking around. Is there a flag or not? And they're going to have to clean that up, because if Jalen Hurts is going to play, if it's his style of game and play can play into an advantage of the Giants defense or just team overall, it has to happen. You have to take advantage of that situation or that era of his game. Trying to stay positive and give the people some ways that the Giants can win this game, Paul. The Eagles' run defense isn't that great as well. Giants kind of struggle to run the football. Tyrone Tracy Jr. might be back this week. I don't know how effective he can be, but if the Giants can run or rush or have a 100-yard rusher this game, Paul, do they come out of this game with the win?
Well, it would certainly help them. They really haven't come that close. Cam Scatterbo's gotten in the 70s, I guess, right, to rushing yards. I talked to Tyrone Tracy on Wednesday. No, check that, Tuesday, right? It's a short week, on Tuesday, and I'm not sure. He said, "Look, I want to play. I'm optimistic," but he said we all got to get together. It's a short week, and I can't go out there if I can't do what I need to do. Then I can't help the team. I can't play. I think that short week aspect of it. Now he hasn't played in a few weeks, so it's not like he's coming off a short week. He's
Yeah.
coming off a 2 week, layoff where he hasn't played because of that partially dislocated shoulder. I'm not so sure they're going to cut him loose. I really am not, because they didn't practice this week. So, it's all walkthrough. So you know, you can't test that shoulder. There's no replication for getting him hit, roughing him up. You can rough a guy up in practice a little bit, right? You tell the guys, you make sure you thud him a little bit,
Yep.
you'll be in pads one day, hit him, see how he feels. They haven't been able to do that this week. So I'm not so sure he's going to be able to return. The Eagles have not been great. They're less than middle of the pack in run defense. So that's an issue you might be able to exploit. Like I said, the Eagles, they're almost like a college team. They win games, but people look for them and say, well, we have to evaluate them differently because we know they're going to win now, but they're not dominating. The Eagles, let's look. They beat the Cowboys 24-20, right? Okay, Cowboys are a division rival. They beat the Chiefs 20-17. That's a terrific win. They beat the Rams 33-26. Terrific, right? High scoring game. Rams had a chance at the end there. They beat the Bucks 31-25. Very good. Bucks are, a very solid team in the NFC. And then they lost last week. Shockingly, they had a 17-3 lead against at home in Philly to the Broncos and lost 21-17, surprisingly. But when you read what's coming out of Philadelphia, there's a lot of concern about a lot of things. Um, as things as minute as the play is not getting called into Jalen Hurts quickly enough with a new offensive coordinator, and that's knocking down the timing. That's ruining the timing of the whole distribution of the play, to lining up, to getting false start penalties, and not having a natural process in the offensive flow. That's a
Interesting.
strange thing to talk about, right? That's kind of minutia, but that's what they're talking about. We've heard, what happened this week? Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts had a meeting, the three of them together, to talk about this. Look, AJ Brown is doing all kinds of weird things, right? Mixed messages, social media. He's not happy about not getting the ball. They were 4-0, and he was not happy about it. Now, he hasn't come out, he hasn't gone off the reservation completely, but clearly it's not like we're winning and this is okay. AJ Brown has 19 catches, 194 yards, one touchdown. So he was not happy about that. Saquon Barkley's numbers are down, down, down. And, he had 6 rushing attempts for 30 yards last week in the loss to the Broncos.
Wow.
And he had 1 touch in the last 8 Eagles possessions. 1 touch for Saquon Barkley in a close game, not a game they were down by 3 touchdowns and had to throw it. His only contribution was a 47-yard touchdown on a wheel route. So, and Jalen Hurts has had trouble locating guys down the field. He's not been running. He's been running often, certainly. And so those 3 guys had a meeting to kind of sort things out. So this is all bubbling inside of the Eagles. And on Thursday night against a team they love to beat and almost always beat, that this is the potential for this all to come out against the Giants is there. It's there, and the Giants are going to have to brace for it, because the Eagles look very beatable this year, and they're still 4-1.
Out of those 3 guys in the Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and AJ Brown, if you're the Giants or Giants fans, if you could take away 2, take them completely out of the game, and meaning you locked them up, locked them down, took that part of the Eagles game away, which 2 out of the 3 would you want shut down Thursday night?
Well, I mean, I think that's if Jalen Hurts is shut down, then AJ Brown's probably not going to have a big game. You know what I mean? Look,
Yeah.
it's Saquon Barkley, it's Saquon Barkley, it's Saquon Barkley. They won the Super Bowl last year on the strength of his incredible, powerful legs, right?
Yep.
And there were times where they just didn't throw the ball, and they just ran it with Hurts, and they ran it a lot with Saquon, and he finished the season with 2,005 yards, and then did even better in the postseason. This season, Brandon, he is on pace for 908 rushing yards. Okay, 908 after a year where he had over 2,000. He is 21st in the league among running backs in rushing. 21st, 5 games into the season. He's averaging less than 54 yards a game.
Wow.
So this is 3.2 yards per game per attempt. These are incredibly, modest numbers for any running back, and especially for Saquon Barkley. So a team's gearing up on him more after last year. I'm sure they are. But then the offensive flow on the passing game has not erupted. Their tight end, Dallas Goedert, is got 4 touchdown catches. He's far and away their leading, receiver from a scoring standpoint. So to me, it's Saquon. Now, the good news for the Giants is they're coming off their best defensive performance as far as stopping the run last week in New Orleans against Kamara. They did a good job against him, very good job, as a matter of fact. It's a different animal this week. It's a different rushing attack. I will say for the Eagles, Landon Donovan, Landon Dickerson,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Their starting left guard has an ankle injury. I don't think he's going to be able to play. He's a Pro Bowler. He's terrific. They have 2 excellent tackles in Jordan Mailata and obviously the future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson. But without one of their starting guards, I think they'll be vulnerable for big Dex inside. That should be a place the Giants hopefully can exploit. But it's Saquon is the difference maker. He played against the Giants once last year at MetLife Stadium. He ran for 176 yards. He had a field day. You know, there's a documentary that's coming out, right? It's been, some of it, there's been advanced screenings of it. It's coming out Thursday night in conjunction with this game, chronicling Saquon's career. A lot of harsh stuff about Joe Shane and Giants co-owner John Mara. So more fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
It's all out there. I talked to Bobby Okereke about it. He said, it's Saquon Barkley. We got to be aware of him. We know the drill. I asked Tyler Nubin, who faced him last year as a rookie one time, and I said, what did you learn? And he said, I learned that he's going to break arm tackles. You can't only just wrap up. You need help. You have to hang on. You have to put him to the ground because he'll run through arm tackles. He'll even run through leg tackles sometimes. And he said, what I really learned from my teammates, my new Giants teammates, is that he was a great leader and a great locker room guy. Yeah. So Saquon will be incredibly primed for a big performance against the Giants. You can bet on it. Will Nick Sirianni force feed him to get him going, or will he say, the heck with this? You know what? The Giants, every time there's a ball in the air, the Giants either, give up a completion or there's a flag for pass interference or holding. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles come out chucking. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out running, and we'll see. We'll see if the Giants can withstand this. And you mentioned a quick start. Last week they got off to a 14-3 start. You could not have scripted it any better in New Orleans. It was quiet in the Superdome, and then the Giants imploded with 5 straight turnovers. Last week, the Eagles at home, 17-3, great start, and then they didn't score again. So you never know in these games. They're long games. But yes, I would certainly advise going up 14-3 rather than not.
Yeah, Saquon prime for a breakout game. Another guy that I feel as though is prime for a breakout game is Abdul Carter as well. I mean, you look at him in the locker room yesterday, he was all business, Paul. Like, didn't want to talk that much, had the hoodie on. And I don't know if it was the frustrations of these younger Giants players kind of going through what Dexter Lawrence and the Darius Slaytons and Kayvon Thibodeau's have already gone through, or is it just maybe the frustrations of I'm right there, but I still hadn't gotten that sack just yet? Do you feel as though this could be a breakout game for Abdul Carter?
I kind of always think it's going to be a breakout game for Abdul Carter. I do. And look, by most metrics, he's having a terrific rookie season. His pressures, his activity, it's all there. He's beating his man. He's doing a lot of good things. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It's going to happen. He's going to have a 2.5 sack game at some point this season, and it might be soon. It could be this week against Jalen Hurts if he holds on to the ball. Yep. There's no question about that. Don't forget, Abdul Carter went to Penn State. He grew up an Eagles fan. Dexter Lawrence was asked about that, and he said he ain't no Eagles fan now anymore. And I said to Dexter, yeah, when Abdul Carter gets those direct deposits into his accounts, he knows who he's a fan of right now, right? The team that's paying him, right? He knows that. Dexter also said that look, he's doing what he needs to do. Abdul, he's the more you're around a quarterback, the better. I said, so what do you say to Abdul when he's not getting maybe the results he wants? Says, I just say go. I just say go. You play defense, you go. And he goes, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not disappointed in Abdul Carter at all. But look, we talk about Jaxson Dart, about learning the ups and downs. You're a rookie. There's a learning curve for a defensive player also. There is, even though it's easy. Dex says just go. But he's learning, he's learning guys chipping them, tight ends, running backs. He's learning about different schemes and quarterbacks getting rid of the ball faster than they do in college. He's, offensive linemen who are now selling insurance, who we went up against at Penn State, right? There's no guys selling insurance that he's going up against now. These are all grown men getting, big checks from the NFL, playing an offensive line. So there's a difference. But yeah, I agree, it's coming. And given that Jalen Hurts holds the ball, yeah, I mean, and Abdul Carter's temperament, yeah, he's not one of these guys that just looks like he's. And look, and they're losing, and that's not fun for anybody. And Abdul Carter's not used to it, so it could be coming. Thursday night. Sure.
Yeah, and that's the least of my concerns. And talking about Abdul Carter and what he's been able to put on tape so far. If he wasn't the third pick of the draft, let's say he was a third-round draft pick, we'd say that he's having a heck of a remarkable season, especially with
But
the
he's
pressures.
not. But he's not. You know, we
But
have
with
different
the
standards,
pressures, and
you
if
know.
you watch tape on him, Paul, he's right there. And sometimes, like he said, all right, I'm affecting the quarterback getting the ball out, and I get it. The sack, you want to register the sack, and that's how the production is how we evaluate and we kind of talk about guys. But when you watch the tape and he's beating his one-on-one, he's beating that tackle really fast and forcing Justin Herbert to get the ball out really fast, and it being a incomplete pass on the back end because Drew Phillips or one of those guys were able to be there. I think that should be a stat within its own. That should be a little bit recorded a little bit more and paid attention to, like the hurries and getting the ball and guys forcing quarterbacks to get the ball out, because at the end of the day, like you're still affecting the play. So I get it. I understand why he's upset. And like you said, when you're losing, it's hard for any of those guys to feel good and be overly happy in the locker room. And we both were in the locker room yesterday. It was quiet in there. Guys are still playing a little cards. You still saw some ping pong action, but you didn't hear the loud music or any of that. So I got a chance to kind of talk with Theo Johnson, who 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He was upbeat as much as possible. He talked about his connections with Jaxson Dart and how they've been able to build that chemistry and going up against the Eagles on Thursday night. Let's check it out for a bit. All right, London in the locker room with second-year tight end Theo Johnson. Got a little ping pong action right there. They're playing doubles Wimbledon right now on the ping pong table. Theo, usually at the end, I'm always asking the guy, like, hey, pull something out of the locker to show us it's something you have to have. It's a must-have at the facility. You got 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Let's start with what is the thing you need?
Get too close to the locker, but the thing for you,
Locker's messy.
these boys right here, the Chargers, iPads always running low, playbooks running low, phone needs some juice, headphone needs some juice. The Chargers are mandatory from there. Yeah, mandatory.
So is that like Gen Z is like a must-have for Gen Z millennials? Because at 40 years old, I wouldn't have picked the Chargers the first thing in my locker.
I mean, it might be. All our iPads are all on the iPad now, so if my thing's running low on juice, I need some of the Chargers.
All right. The juice is loose, and you've been loose the last 2 weeks, man. You kind of seen your game continue to grow, your production, your targets, your usage. Just kind of talk about these last 2 weeks, man. You're really coming into your own. Is that something that you kind of expected it this early in the season?
Yeah, I think it was just a matter of time. I think the big thing is me and Jaxson got some good chemistry going on. He trusts me, I trust him. I'm where he needs me to be. And I think as a young quarterback, it's good to have a tight end that is reliable, and I think that's what I've been able to do for him.
So is that something that started in the summer, talking about you guys' chemistry and the extra throwing together? When did you guys really start working on that chemistry and knowing where you need to be for him at the right time?
Yeah, I think it started as soon as he got here. Honestly, before he got here, he texted me as soon as he got drafted. He's like, man, like, we're going to get to work. We're going to do this thing. We're going to do it big. So from as soon as when he got here, we started working together. We got along pretty quick. And I think we've grown a good relationship on the field, but also off the field as well.
Daniel Bellinger had himself a big game as well, and he's a fan favorite, someone that the fans have been wanting to get targeted a little bit more for the longest now. So was that something that you guys kind of knew that your production or your targets were going to go up against the Saints? And how happy were you for your boy 82 that he had himself a couple catches as well?
Yeah, so we knew that just with the game plan, we're going to do a lot of 2 tight end stuff, but we weren't sure how much we're going to be involved in the pass game. But obviously, it was a big game for both of us. I love to see Belly getting the ball, getting the love a little bit. He works super hard, quiet guy. He's not going to moan or complain about anything, but he's just as capable as anybody else we have out there.
Does the fact that you're making plays on the field, second year with this team and this offense, when you see you guys have 5 turnovers in a row, does that allow you to be vocal and tell guys, hey, we need to step it up? Like, how are you attacking this, I guess, leadership position that you have?
Sure. I think The good thing I've done is I have good relationships with pretty much everybody, especially on the offense. So I can have those conversations with people, kind of set them straight, help them refocus, because I know how it is when you make a tragic play like that. It can be tough mentally. So I have a good relationship with guys, and I think that's helped in the leadership aspect.
1-4 going into a short week against the Eagles. Last year, this team kind of went through some adversity as well. How do you make sure that guys don't get down and continue to go out there and compete and put their best foot forward?
Yeah, you gotta wash it. Every week's a new week, especially a short week. You don't have time to be licking the wounds or feeling bad for yourself. Then the day we're moving the ball really well, we shot ourselves in the foot. So I think that's the big thing, the big message that we're echoing throughout the team, and especially on the offense. And we just gotta keep being productive like we have been on first down, and just take care of the football.
That charger, that's a USB-C or one of them old school
I
chargers?
got both of them. I got the USB-C and I got the old lightning cable too.
There you go. Old school with a little mix of new school. But congratulations on the success you're having, man, and keep building off of that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Another Penn State guy, back-to-back Penn State guys with Abdul and Theo Johnson. You talk about, waiting for Abdul to kind of break out, having that breakout game. Theo Johnson had that against the Commanders last year after being dinged up and not playing much. And then he had his breakout game, and then he goes on IR with a foot injury. So it's good to see him back out there. It's good to see the chemistry that both he and Jaxson Dart has. And I think that they've got their tight end for the future, in Theo Johnson, Paul.
Yeah, look, he looks good. Look, the next threshold for him is getting downfield, right?
Yeah,
We think
yeah.
he can do that. But look, 2 touchdowns in the red zone last week in New Orleans is terrific. He's a big target. And I think it was the second one. McKinstry, Kool-Aid, he beat a cornerback.
Yeah, he did.
He beat a cornerback and used his body. He wasn't, it wasn't like he blew by him. He had to use an angle. He had to, shift his weight and make the catch, in traffic. And that's a good sign. You know what? These guys, these young guys, he's not a rookie. They got to keep adding and adding and adding. It's not, this whole team takes a step up and 2 steps back. They take a half a step up and a whole step back, Theo included. And so I think he needs to keep building from this. Look, it's only going to be more on him. We talked last week and we said, who replaces Malik Neighbors? None of us said Daniel Bellinger. The second tight end replaces Malik Neighbors, and that's essentially what it was. And they got ahead 14-3, throwing primarily to Theo Johnson and to Daniel Bellinger, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and 2 wide receivers. Now, Darius Slayton's not going to play. He's not going to play. You can't come back from a hamstring in 3 or 4 days. You can't do it. I don't know if he would have played if the game was Sunday. Wide receiver, hamstring, bad combination, right? So I think there'll be a lot of Bellinger, certainly a lot of Theo Johnson, and then who is next? Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy that it's going to be too much to ask of him to be a wide receiver number 1. He's just not built for that. The Eagles have excellent nickel back, right? Cooper DeJean, right?
Yeah. And
excellent. One of the best in the league already. Second-year player. So, Wan'Dale is not going to have an easy time of it. Jalen Hyatt is just trending in all kinds of bad directions. And, I think he will be the last resort for the Giants. I really do. Now, Bo Collins last week, and I want you to speak to what he did on the route he told me, I want to hear from you first as a former receiver, what Bo Collins did, okay, that caused an interception for Jaxson Dart. And then I'll tell you what he said about it.
All right, so he ran the under route, for those you guys listening, 5 yards and in. Now, if let's say that hook to curl defender, you see him, you have the option to kind of slow it down a little bit, but that's not what he saw. I feel as though he should have kept going, try to go into that space, because Jaxson Dart wanted to lead him into that space so he could turn it up, get north, drop step, get vertical, and get north and south. I think he read it wrong. I think where Kool-Aid McKinstry was trying to drive towards to the inside, he was already in some sort of inside technique, inside leverage. I think Bo kind of slowed himself down and tried to sit in that honey hole as opposed to try and cross in that defender's face and catching that football on the run where Jaxson Dart wanted him to throw, wanted him to be. And I looked at that. I was so upset when I saw that, Paul, because you know me, undrafted guy, you get in there, you get that opportunity. I don't care if he threw it to the roof of the Caesars Superdome. You got to go up there, climb up there, and you got to go get that thing, or at least show the effort that you put everything that you could into it in terms of going to get that. And then, two, on the second end of it, you're battling with Jalen Hyatt, a guy that's already been there that's kind of, I don't want to say on the downside, but hasn't been trending in the right direction. If you go and you make a couple catches and you show that you're competent and you know the offense, you know, as Coach Coughlin used to say, now it's not even, you guys aren't even competing during the week to see who gets these reps. Those automatically go to you because you've got Kafka knowing you know what you're doing, Jaxson Dart knowing what you're doing, and Brian Dable as well. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but I saw it and I was let down when I saw that, Paul.
Well, no, that's you. I mean, that's what I mean. That's why, you bring so much value to this, because I can say what he said. You know what it was. You know what, that is, and that brings a trust issue to the coaches, right? You know what I mean? Because that interception is what, 80% on Bo Collins. I mean, any quarterback who throws the ball, it's his interception, right? But what Bo Collins said is that look, the route, it's an in cut, as you said, right? And he said the cornerback was sitting on it, so he was basically running into the coverage. So he said, he said at that time, I really don't have the option to do anything but continue my route because Jaxson doesn't know that I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. So he said, if I have to become a defender on that play, I become a defender. I'm running. He goes, Jackson's going to throw. If he's throwing the ball, he's throwing it to that spot.
Yep.
And so if I can either, so he said I needed to box out my guy and try to make a play on the ball, or at least become a defender. So he said he was sick about that. And he told Jaxson that, going back to the sideline, I apologize. I'm sick about that because he caused an interception, and he said, look, that was a time where everything was going wrong. Was that turnover number 5? Was that the
that was the fifth one? Yes, sir.
That was the fifth one. Yep. So, they're already down by 2 scores, and they're trying to get back in the game. So that was the icing on a very, very bad cake there. So it's a young player. He said, he explained to me what the mistake he made, and it said it will not happen again. So I think, by default, he will get more opportunities Thursday night, because I think that the coaching staff is going to want him on the field or throw him the ball more often than Jalen Hyatt. That's just my opinion. Hyatt had a chance for a couple of catches and he didn't make them. I don't know where his confidence is. It can't be high. I don't think Bo Collins' confidence is hurt by what happened. Look, he's an undrafted free agent. He was that for a reason. He's made plays at Clemson. He's made plays at Notre Dame. Jaxson Dart is going into his third career start without his best. He started, his first game, right, and beat the Chargers with Malik Nabers as his number 1 option and with Darius Slayton at his number 2 option, at a position, I might say, that is incredibly not deep. It's just not a deep position. So he loses Malik Nabers in the second quarter of his first start, and he loses Darius Slayton in his, Slayton finished the game, but for start number 3, he won't have Malik Nabers, he won't have Darius Slayton. You try to figure out how they're going to be a dangerous passing attack, because I just don't see it.
All right, we just relived some of that Saints loss. I got a chance to catch up with Cal Brandt, where he relives some of the NFL's greatest games and moments in his show that's on Vice. Season finale is tonight. Watch me and Cal go back and forth about Jaxson Dart and his aura in the season finale right now. Cal, Good Morning Football, CBS Sports. After further review, you're a busy man. Appreciate you hopping on with this. How you feeling today, bro?
Always great to see you, Ryan. You're the man. The last time I saw you, it's not technically at the New York Giants facility. Is on the road outside the Giants facility.
North Service Road.
Not allowed to pass through the guard gate. So my transportation is outside the guard gate. I walk out and I was like, Oh, dude, what's up? We were like, I had to cross through traffic to come and like give you a hug, but this is much safer and much warmer.
Yeah.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, and it's easier to call an Uber from these spots we're at right now because when you're calling the Uber from Quest Diagnostics Training Center, it makes you go to MetLife Stadium, puts you on the service road. So yes, this is definitely a safer. But speaking of our Giants, man, after further review, what's your thoughts on the season going into Week 6?
That 1 week was fun, wasn't it? That was a fun-ass week, man. I mean, listen, hey, I'll try to keep it positive, and it lets you know that just when and if it comes together, it's so fun when the Giants are good.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. I'm not saying that to be patronizing. You get just this one home win, not only a home win, but over a team that's respected and that's pedigreed. And it was like there was a party in this city. And that was when they were 1-3. And you would never know that. It felt like 4-0 energy. And all of a sudden, Jaxson Dart's cool and people are buying Scatterboo jerseys. And it's just like, man, when that's the life you want to live. That's like how the other side lives. But it's not, because it's better, because it's here, and because it's been so long. And so I know the record's not good. I know New Orleans was like really, really disappointing because we thought maybe we're going to get another week of that dopamine that we got.
Yep.
But it still lets you know that when it happens, it's better than when it happens anywhere else. It was a really cool week. Even 1-3, man, it was still cool.
Yeah, it's like Giants fans have champagne taste with beer money right now, like that's the only way I could describe it. And like you said, bro, like and I tell the players this all the time, if you win here, you're a legend. Like I was a practice squad guy on that 2007 team, and I eat for free. Well, I still got a tip, but I eat for free here, so it's that was,
dude,
I'm glad you said that.
You're
what a 1 week.
And I like just going into the larger scheme of things. I got to talk to Strahan once.
Yep.
And I was interviewing him, and we were just talking about his career in media and everything. And we were talking about the helmet catch, and we're talking about David Tyree, and we talked about it a million times. I said, so Stray, if he doesn't catch that ball and you guys lose and the Patriots win, the Giants don't win the Super Bowl and you retire, are you the host of Good Morning America right now? And he said, no. Absolutely not. I said, come on, really? With your talent, your charisma, all that? He goes, no, because New York City awards winners.
Yeah.
And when we won the Super Bowl and I was one of the faces of that team, it changed everything about me in New York, nationally, but just more importantly, New York City. I was looked at differently. There's a lot of great players, but they're in this just different club. Like, listen, we love Patrick Ewing. He is not in that same club as Strahan or Jeter or what have you. And when Strahan got into the club, I'll never forget that. He said, they don't catch that ball, David Tyree. It's from Eli. I'm not doing the jobs I'm doing right now. And I believed him.
And we love Aaron Judge, but until he wins a World Series, he can't get Good Morning America if he chooses to get into the TV space after this. We talked about Eli Manning and what he's been able to do off the field because of his 2 Super Bowl rings. Let's talk about the new Ole Miss quarterback that's now the QB1 for the Giants. Jaxson Dart, man, what has been I know it's been a small sample size, 2 games, but what kind of stands out to you about Jaxson Dart and his game and his moxie?
He's cool, man. He's cool. And I really mean that. And not as a throwaway comment. It's not just that the Giants haven't been successful in a while. They just haven't been very cool. Like there's just not much buzz. Even, sometimes teams lose, but there's something going on there. There's something percolating. You can see, all right, I give it some time. We'll see. It's just been really flat. So to have someone who is fresh and charismatic and, young, and he's got this whole moxie to it. And he's like the 6-7 generation of my son is like, oh, Jaxson Dart's cool. And this is how I always sum it up. So, dude, I live in the suburbs. I live in Westchester County in the suburbs. I live in the middle of Giants country. That is like, those are Giants fans, so many of them native, so many of them born and raised Giants fans, whether they had Eli jerseys, if they're older, they had Phil Simms jerseys. I go to pick up my son from school often. My son's in 6th grade in the middle of Giants country. And that bell rings and those doors open, and I see 500 different 6th grade boys run out, 6th grade girls, everything. And I see jerseys all across my field of vision. I see Lamar Jackson jerseys, Josh Allen jerseys, Patrick Mahomes jerseys. I see Jaden Daniels jerseys. I see Jalen Hurts jerseys.
Yep.
These are NFC East quarterbacks. I don't see Giants jerseys. I just don't see them. And when you do, you're like, oh, there's a Giants jersey. Oh, no, wait, that's a Saquon jersey. That doesn't really count. You don't see them.
Yep.
And I have to tell you, the first time I coached sixth graders in football too. And for the first time, it was last week, one of them, they're chatting before practice and stuff. They were throwing the ball and they mentioned Jaxson Dart. And they're like, he's got swag, he's cool, he wears necklaces and they play while he plays. And you could see them buying a Jaxson Dart jersey. So in the currency of young fans and young Giants fans, he got their attention already, and that means a lot. And I want to see some Giants jerseys run out of that school one of these days.
And on top of that, you look at the rookie class, you got a guy like Cam Scottaboo, you got Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Looking at it, would you say that the future of the Giants, of Giants football, is in the right hands with this big three?
I hope so. And I'll tell you another story. Over this past summer, my wife and I went to Citi Field, and we went to go see Post Malone. Post Malone's playing Citi Field, and he's got Jelly Roll opening. Great summer night, like clear night. Everybody's there. Place is packed. We get to Citi Field. We go up. We got our tickets. We go through the turnstile. As we pass through the turnstile, the first person I physically bump into is this guy with this shiny bald head, and it's Brian Dable. And I was like, Coach, what the heck? Are you a fan of Post Malone? He's like, yeah, I love Post Malone, but, I really love Jelly. And so he's there with his family. He's having this great night. And I got to talking with him just a little bit, just chit-chatting before the concert. This is months ago. I think they had only had like rookie mini camp. And I was like, so how you feeling, man? How are things? And he was just gushing about Dart. And he's like, because he knows me, I love running backs and I do all the angry runs. He's like, oh man, wait till you see Scattaboo, man. Wait till you see this guy. And he was so excited about Dart and Scattaboo, which candidly, I thought was a little interesting during the Russell Wilson early phase where I'm like, I know that Dable loves Jaxson. Let's get him in there. Dable picked Jaxson. Sure enough, he did. But when I bumped into him, his whole body language changed. His whole face changed the second he said Jaxson Dart's name. So to answer your question by means of Jelly Roll and Post Malone, I am excited about the future, and I think it is in good hands. I hope those hands are Brian Dable's, and I hope they get some wins this year and help him build something because he handpicked them, and I hope he can grow with them.
Yeah, we saw the video after Jackson hit that opening touchdown on that drive against the Chargers. Yeah. Brian Dable goes, he's ecstatic. He's, oh, that's our effing guy. And then if you go back to, I believe, to the draft night when Joe Shane traded up and got him, he called Joe Shane Joseph. That's the way to do it, Joseph, and that's how you get your guy. When people call you by your government, that means that you're either in trouble or you did something really well. And speaking of just the overall content, in-season Hard Knocks has started filming at the Giants facility. You think that's going to be good TV for Giants fans, or you feel like there's just going to be some sort of outrage on the internet after every episode?
Well, let's be honest. It can't get any worse than last time with Hard Knocks, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this will be more positive.
Yeah.
Those are two dirty words around the Giants, Hard Knocks. But I do think, I know the wins aren't there, but I do think there's a fun tone. And TV shows are all about tone. What is the vibe? There's young players. They're excitable. And frankly, they're hams for the camera. I mean, you've seen Scattaboo in all these videos. He loves the stuff. Dart loves the stuff. A lot of the other players love the stuff. Have it be Thibodeau or Dexter. These guys are not camera shy. So Hard Knocks will be fun. I know that there's going to be wins and losses, but again, it was rock bottom with the Saquon trade on camera and all of that. So I feel like it's going to be better. And if this thing does take off, as I hope it does, it'll be pretty cool to have it documented.
Yeah, they could put some wins together, man. That would be some great content. Again, fans will attach. If you got 1 week and people already were ready to call this team Super Bowl champions, just think of what it could be like if you could document 2 or 3 runs. If Jaxson Dart goes on some sort of run like Tommy DeVito went on a couple years ago, just think of what that could do content-wise and just for his overall aura in the city. And you mentioned shows having their own tones. the season finale of your show, NFL Classics, after further review, kicks off tonight. I mean, what's it been like going full Throwback Thursday and reliving some of the NFL's biggest games and greatest moments?
No, it's the most fun I've ever had. So this show, we just pick any game we want in NFL history. The NFL films people have given us the full keys to say, take whatever you want. And we pick crazy games. We pick like the Jets Patriots can't wait game. We pick the Bears are who we thought they were game, Cardinals versus Bears. We picked, in this case, Super Bowl 21 for the old heads and for the young people who never experienced the Phil Simms game, the greatest Super Bowl ever played potentially. And we have Phil Simms, we have Mad Dog Russo, and we don't just watch the highlights like you've done 1,000 times. We watch the entire game. We sit around, they tell stories, they give insight. I mean, Phil Simms tells the entire story backwards and forwards, including stuff he's never shared before about Super Bowl 21. It's riveting. It's Wednesday night football, I call it. There's no game on Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern on Vice. Watch this. It's like it's internet friendly, it's young person friendly, and it's just stories and football, and it's tough to beat, man. It's really, really fun.
When you say young person friendly, you feel as though young Giants fans should definitely watch tonight's episode so they know who Phil Simms is and they know about these glory days that their okay boomer parents and uncles and aunts talk about.
Yeah, you guys should know about Mark Bavaro. You should know about Phil McConkey. You've heard about Lawrence Taylor. Tune in tonight and watch him. Joe Morris, all of these great players. I have to tell you, though, young people, let me just give you a warning. When you turn it on and you see this game, it's going to be jarring as hell because it is like the most standard-ass definition video you've ever seen. When you turn it on, now this isn't just any game. This is the Super Bowl. On the screen, there is no scoreboard. There is no clock. There is no down and distance. It's just bare. It is like you don't know if it's first quarter, fourth quarter. Is it 3rd and 20? Is it 2nd and 1? Is some team up by 6, down by 6? You have no idea. Whereas now we got scrolling tweets and weather forecasts and score bugs. It's so jarring to watch how barren the broadcast was. But you also get Pat Summerall, you get John Madden, and you get all of that stuff tonight. So I feel like if you say okay boomer, if you say 6'7", if I tell you something and you say bet, you should watch this show tonight because you'll learn something.
Absolutely. It would be like for them going back and using a TI-83 calculator.
Yeah.
Like for us, that was
Crafting
the
calculator.
most advanced piece of technology out there. But now they got their iPhones now. Hey, Cal, man, keep crushing it, man, and appreciate you taking the time out to jump on Blue Rush with us.
Bet. Anytime, man. You're the best. I'll see you in the
got
street
aura,
somewhere
man.
soon.
6'7". Paul, if you think about the Giants organization, they've had Phil Simms, Eli Manning, now Jaxson Dart. That's a lot of aura, and as the kids call it, in terms of that quarterback room.
You know, it is. Look, Eli and aura to me are always tough to put together. Because Eli was just Eli Manning. He could be dull. He could be, he could be corny. He could be a lot of things. Now he's certainly developed a great personality. Since he's retired. But win. Phil Simms is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and Giants fans love him for that. Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, and Giants fans love him for that. There's a difference, right? If Aaron Judge ever wins the Super Bowl, ever wins the World Series, I mean. Yankee fans love him, but there's a special kind of love for guys who win. Patrick Ewing is beloved. No, he's loved as Knick fans, but I don't think he's beloved because he never won the big game, right? Not his fault, but he never won the big game. So, Jaxson Dart and the Super Bowl are a long, long way away. He's got to, get some wins under his belt. He's got to have some good games. And, we need to talk about Jaxson Dart here because he is, he said the other day that, look, it was my first loss. And look, I have to be realistic here. It's not going to be my last loss in the NFL. He knows it. He's not on a short leash here. He's on a long leash. And so, he was very disappointed, but he sounded very professional a few days after that game, talking about looking ahead and talking about what he's going to try to learn from that. He said he took the loss very hard, and he said it's on me to his teammates. Some of it was, most of it wasn't. So this is a season of firsts, right? And he's got his first game against a NFC East opponent. And Brandon, those games are just a little different, right?
Yes, they are.
It's his first primetime game, right? First Thursday night game, first game in on national TV. Another home game for him. It's a second home game. So it's all going to be interesting to see what he's learned. Like I said, is he playing with one hand tied behind his back because of his receivers? Maybe. Is he a little shell shocked by 2 interceptions? Maybe. By all those, is he not going to trust some guys who, maybe are not going to make plays on the ball? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Cam Scatterboo, is he going to be a little spooked by a fumble that was returned a long, long way for a touchdown? Probably not, but maybe. It's his first time around the block with these things. So, when you have a rookie quarterback and you're going to stick with them for the long haul here for this season, then every game is a check. Check positive, check negative, check neutral, and we'll see. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask of Jaxson Dart. Most rookie quarterbacks who start don't come into great situations with great teams, and Jaxson Dart is certainly in one of those situations right now.
Yeah, the Giants are relying on a bunch of young guys. You think of the guys that we've talked about that made plays: Theo Johnson, second year; Abdul Carter in his first year; Tyrone Tracy Jr., second year; Drew Phillips leads the team in interceptions. He's in his second year. It's a bunch of young guys going up against some vets, some proven guys and Super Bowl champs, and the Eagles coming into town for some Thursday night football. It could go either way, Paul. We've seen this thing. It could be a last-minute field goal, Giants win, or you could have the place empty in terms of Giants fans, and the Eagles fans take it over, and you hear that EAGLES chant. Absolutely hate that thing. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the short week and the Blue Rush preview show for Giants-Eagles Thursday Night Football. I'll be on live right after the game for our post-game analysis and our thoughts. For Brandon London and Paul Schwartz, thanks for watching Blue Rush.